burns up the rubber on the road on the way back and forth to Piscataway or New Brunswick. Absecon to Galloway is the way those two towns are in my mind. That would be Nick Kosko, who's an excellent play-by-play guy in his own right. Hello, Nick. Good morning. How are you?
PT, I'm doing good, man. I do love the Seager choices this morning, I got to say.
I mean, he's the kind of guy that you don't realize how many hits you know, to the point that when he did Like a Rock last night, I leaned to the guy that I was with and I said, yeah, this one I still like, but, when it was in the Chevy commercial over and over and over again, then I stopped liking it. I mean, I can't call the guy a sellout, though. I mean, all he's been doing it since 61. I mean, if a guy's been rocking hard since I was -10, he's pretty talented.
I would say so, for sure.
All right, so we got a busy day. I ran through what the schedule is. I know that you're heading up there toward Rutgersville, right? But first and foremost, why don't you lay out what your day is then? Tell our audience when they'll hear you today.
Well, I'm all over the place, obviously. I left my house at 6:30 this morning. I'm actually at the rack right now at Rutgers. We got Rutgers Wrestling, the opening quad meet of the season, new era to start Rutgers Wrestling. You can catch me on Big Ten Network Plus today, alongside the great Lou Brogno, and then fans are going to be able to hear me right on this very station, 97.3. I'll be on the college football countdown, the kickoff show, as I always am every week at 2:30. I will follow, of course, Billy, Josh, and then get into my show right before we take you to the kickoff of Rutgers football. They're taking on Illinois today on the road.
So double reason for having you on, not that we don't try to put you on as much as possible anyway, but, this news, Nick, that breaks this week, and Mike had the Commissioner Randall Bowe on too. First of all, I'd like to know specifically, where were you? How did you find out? What kind of information did you get initially on Tuesday? And I know it was Tuesday because we were literally in the middle of a Tuesday with Thompson segment when it was like, hold the phone, we got some breaking news. Where were you? How did you find out? And what were your initial thoughts when you heard what's going on with perhaps a shaky future for the AFL?
Yeah, it was pretty much a weird day, to say the least. I woke up Tuesday morning after an overnight shift at SiriusXM. Speaking of places that I'm going to, of course, and working at. So I woke up, and then I got the press release, and the Blackjacks had just signed a new advertising partner. Things were on the up and up, and I was on the phone with our COO, Adam Lorber, on Monday. We were talking about next season, the open player tryouts that were supposed to happen in a couple of weeks, and then I'm headed into New York on Tuesday evening. I'm driving in. Then, of course, I hit traffic in the good old Lincoln Tunnel. There was a broken down bus or something. But so we're basically at a standstill. I go to my phone, and then I get some notifications popping up on my Facebook feed, and I see a lot of people sharing this article over and over. It's the initial article from the Times Union up in Albany, saying that Albany and the other franchises are going to cease operations. And I'm thinking to myself, this has to be, a clickbait or an Onion article, to say the least. So then I look at it, I read through it, and I get all the information that was reported. That's how I found out about the status of the league. So then I started calling and texting some people that were in the organization and around the league, and I basically found out as much as everybody did, and that was the league got hit with a lawsuit. The teams didn't do anything wrong, and the league has to cease the local operations while they try to figure it out. And obviously the future looks a little dim and grim, and it's all doom and gloom right now. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was a very unfortunate day, and I know at this moment I don't have a gig doing the radio play-by-play for the Blackjacks at the moment, obviously, since everything's going to be ceasing operation. But my heart goes out to all our front office staff, our players, our coaches, and just everyone else around the league, because it came out of nowhere, really.
Very much so, Nick. And I know this. So Gil says to me as we're wrapping up on the Sports Bash, he says, hey, maybe you can reach out to Jaws. And I'm thinking in my head, I'll text him. But, there was actually one time I said to Ron Jaworski, do I have your number right? And he says, yeah, why? And I read the number to him, and he says, yeah, why? I said, well, I've texted you repeatedly, and you never answered. He says, Pete, do you know how many texts I get a day? Like, to hell with you, buddy. Which made me laugh, and I said, all right. So I texted Jaws on Tuesday, and he texted right back. So that's how I knew, like, hey, this is no joke, And he says they hope to save the league. Do you see that traveling team, or is that something that's going to succeed or be successful?
I would like to be positive. I love the league, and I've been a fan of it since I was a wee lad, and I was a big fan of the league. The original incarnation before they folded in '09, obviously, and they came back. So, I grew up watching the Soul and all these other teams, and again, it's a great game, it's a great league, but the touring model that's been thrown out there, and those other options, like maybe some of these teams merge with the other smaller indoor leagues, like the NAL here on the East Coast, or some of the other teams, they somehow find a way to get out west. Or in the Midwest with the IFL. I mean, to me, I think it's pretty much AFL or bust. The touring model to me works for something like Premier League lacrosse, just because lacrosse isn't as much of a prominent sport in this country like football. And I get it's indoor football; it's different than the outdoor game. But when you're looking at a touring league, and basically the speculation is they want to keep the same 6 franchises they had in the league this year, including Atlantic City and Philadelphia, but they're going to centralize these teams in 2 or 3 different regions. So basically, that's going to be their home base. Then they're going to do a touring model where they're going to play a bunch of games in AC, do some in Philly, do some in Albany. I guess, or they're just going to go tour random cities around the East Coast and the Midwest and try to expand their reach. And I get that. It all sounds well and good, but I honestly don't think that's going to be a sustainable approach for a game like this, where it is football. And I think you do need the local markets. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, here are the Atlantic City Blackjacks and Philadelphia Soul," but they're going to be centralized, in somewhere in Ohio or something. You know what I mean? Like you need those teams to be relevant and around the community, in Atlantic City, in Philadelphia, and that's what was so great about the Blackjacks this past season.
Yeah, I thought the Blackjacks had a really successful first season. I know the optimism was high. Nick Kosko with us here on the Pete Thompson Show at 97.3 ESPN. This was my text to Jaws at 5:56 on Tuesday evening. This news from Albany is troubling. No AC Blackjacks, no Soul. And he wrote back, the AFL is working on restructuring. I hope we can save it. To which I simply wrote back, me too. Thanks for answering. And we will have to see, Nick. I sit back and I think about the time when I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, that, it was roughly around the same time that Kurt Warner had left Hy-Vee, which is the Midwest version of a ShopRite. And he was like stocking shelves and bagging groceries, and then went and aired it out in the Arena League. And then, of course, went on to lead the Rams. And now he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and all those other things. So I definitely think the product, has an interest. I thought, of all the things that haven't worked in Atlantic City for sports, I thought they were really moving in the right direction. So, of course, I got my fingers crossed that they're able to sustain the league or find a way to get the league back again for another year.
Yeah, one can always hope, obviously. And then that's the unfortunate part with this area, obviously, as you know, Pete. You look at the AC Surf, you look at the Boardwalk Bullies, you see some of these other, quote-unquote failed franchises for minor league sports or stuff like that for these semi-pro leagues in Atlantic City. And, I do want to put it out there. I know I'm not just speaking because I work for the team. But I am a big supporter of the Blackjacks. I'm a big supporter of the Arena Football League, but the perception that the Blackjacks are just another failed franchise in this city is just flat out wrong. This was a total league issue. They got hit with a lawsuit that was from dated back over about 10 years ago at this point, and it was because of the previous regime of the league. And don't forget, this insurance carrier that's suing the league right now, they started in '09 when the league had to cease operations then because they were dealing with the players union. They had to cancel the entire 2009 season because the league went bankrupt, dealing with the players. They came back in 2010. So don't forget, the league is what failed all these teams. And it's not just Atlantic City going away. It's Albany, it's Philadelphia, and everybody knows the Philadelphia Soul. They've been around for 15 years. So, I just want to make it clear to everybody out there listening that this Blackjacks franchise was on the rise. It was on the up and up. There's a lot of deals being made that people were not hearing about quite just yet because they weren't public. But this team was doing a lot in the front office throughout the offseason. So I want to shout out my front office peeps that were working diligently with the Philadelphia Soul front office as well in the off season. I mean, they were getting things done, and we were all excited for a 2020 campaign that was going to be, I would say, far better on and off the field than 2019 in the inaugural season. So again, this was a league issue, and nobody can fault the Blackjacks for obviously a possibly canceled 2020 season.
Good insight there from Nick Kosko at Nick Kosko59 on Twitter. Follow him there. Listen to him here. Nick, while you were answering that last question, I put up the interview again, the link to our 97.3 ESPN YouTube page, as Mike Gill and Ryan Rothstein had Commissioner Randall Bowe on talking about the future of the league. So if you are out there listening, would like to hear a longer and lengthier explanation of what's going on with the AFL, Randall Bowe gets into that with Mike Gill and Ryan Rothstein. I put that on our Twitter page. Did you have a favorite Seeger song? Did I ask you that when we started the segment? Already I am the PT. I can't remember. I'm like Dory.
favorite Seeger song. Well, I mean, I do in my time as a producer and a board op of Sirius XM that I do, pretty much every week on the overnight shift. I do play a lot of Seeger. Don't get me wrong. I am a big fan of Hollywood Nights. It's actually my favorite Seeger song.
I love it. Here's what I know, Nick. The reason Seeger's so good for radio is that every song has like a good minute and a half, 2-minute intro. And in this day and age where people start singing immediately, right? You're like, no, I need something that's just instrumental. Oh, Seeger. That's why you go to the guy. Yeah, he was great last night, and I was pretty honored to be there. Hey, pal, I'm happy to catch up with you. Good luck with the wrestling. I will be listening to the Countdown to Kickoff show later on. I'm not going to say anything about Rutgers football because it won't be nice.
That's all good. At least they won last week. They were home dogs to Liberty, but they got the win. And PT, they're only 20-point underdogs today at Illinois, so maybe they'll cover it. God forbid there's an upset. There's going to be 3 Rutgers football wins headed into 2020 when we, I would say, hopefully have a Greg Schiano introductory press conference in about 2 months.
Liberty, that's the school that has the Emu and Doug, right? Oh, no, wait, that's the insurance company. All right, see how I mix that all together? All right, listen, good job out of you, and you and I will catch up soon.